we get started, I know this is being taped, so for those who are watching on tape, there are approximately 150 people here. We're going to try to direct the questions as much as we can to the large masses today. Standing go. For those who want to stand, just back there is good. Thank you.
Yeah, so project the people in the back in here. Thank you for coming. This is going to be a special conversation on a special occasion. As Mark said, I am a professor, so I'm switching to professor mode now, which means that I hope you read the reading that was my answer to this panel, and Dale watching you. I want to take a second here just to frame what we're achieving to do. And this is a rather ambitious topic that we're going to take on this morning. And the topic, as it's been described, is life after the Bubs. I see it just a little bit more nuanced than that. That is the enduring place of the Bubs in one's life, the influence of the group in one's life. This is an elusive question. What is it? Is there life after the Bubs? After some rudimentary research, I can tell you the answer is no. But these gentlemen are going to hear, they're going to stand up and try to spell that. Yes, it is rather ambitious. I think this is ambitious because, as you know, coming back to these reunions, being part of the group and part of the tradition, it's more than just being part of something that's bigger than you. It's also about being introduced to a community, a set of values, an experience of being truly great at something at a really formative time in one's life, and then what happens afterwards. For me, my day was September 14th, 1993, and Paul Long and Jeff Murphy came out to my dorm, Hodgson Hall, woke me up at 2 in the morning, staged a brilliantly executed argument in front of me, faking an argument that there was some debate as to whether or not I should be into the group, and led me up the hill to Blue Hall where they popped the big surprise. And everybody, I think, has some kind of version of that story. What happens after that, though, is unique 250 plus times. I think it's hard to explain this to people who aren't within the group. And I think we make an effort when we have these reunions to try to include our families and our spouses and to bring them in on the experience a little bit. But it is really difficult to explain. I know a lot of people come here without their families, without their spouses. They sort of think that this is just for you guys. And I think it would be helpful, I think, if we were able to attach some kind of coherent thought to what is really going on when we do get together, or even when we're not together, and we are still present with the group experience because of these lasting values and lasting shaping experiences. The other thing that I want to mention before I turn to the panelists is that it's been remarkable that we spend just a fraction of our lives in this group as current members, and then most of our relationship with the group is as alums. It gives us a lot of time to reflect about what we did when we were on the other side of this, when we were up on the stage. And I don't know about you, but I learned and relearned what that was all about as my life progresses, through career, through family. It all takes on a different perspective the more years you're at home. So with those thoughts in mind, let's think about together what contributions the Bub experience has led to our lives, and what our lives would be like if we had never had a chance to be in the group, and how different your life would be. a gentleman who was in the group from spring of 1974 to the spring of 1977. Was business manager in 1976 and 77. He appeared on the Blue album. And imagine being the only guy in the history of the group to have to call Tim Van and say, sorry, Tim, we have to pack it up. Oh, really? Did you? Didn't quite happen. But those were the circumstances at this time. Having done some discovery work on this, I do believe that this gentleman was instrumental in saving the group. So we owe a lot, we have a huge debt of gratitude towards him. After he graduated, became an environmental risk program manager worldwide for Bank of America, but not a lot of people were talking about climate and environment. Honed his credentials as an advocate for environmental causes, and also is an accomplished writer. Wrote this book.
Oh yeah, right with him, seriously. No, seriously.
Which I've read, as you can tell. And the book not only combines the sensibilities of the climate concerns, but also elevating awareness of Parkinson's disease, which I say that his personal experience with it, probably hear more about.
And it's a great detective story.
So, so with that said, I ask that you just give a quick round of applause to him. Here, on my immediate left, Horace William Jordan Jr.
Esquire.
I know. Joined the group in the fall of 1980, left the group in spring of 1984, in between a whirlwind of performance, some of which we ascended to last night. Still, the standard bearer of captivating Bubs performance. And you might think that it all went downhill after that for Rob, but it didn't. Rob went on, first of all, to graduate magna cum laude from Tufts University in 1984, and then earned his Juris Doctor from Northwestern University shortly thereafter, and quickly earned himself a fabulous and decorated career in law as general counsel, secretary, and currently has assumed those positions, as far as I know, as founding partner of one of the most successful leasing companies in the United States. It's based in Lake Forest, Illinois, and Ford, yeah. And
There's God has a funny way.
I know, and well,
Yes,
And they were all like this.
yeah. So please give it up for Mr. Rob. To my immediate right, I have here a gentleman who got into the group in May 1994. I can say that with authority because I brought him in, and I was proud to have done so. Graduated in May 1997, in between served as business manager in 96, president in 97, also won the Jim Barrett Spirit of Brotherhood Award in 1997. Yeah. Appeared on Building Drift in ID, and after graduating, went on to really build a career defined by his relationships with Beelzebubs. First worked with Mitch Rosenbaum, B95, immediately upon graduation, on something that we didn't know a lot about back then. It's called the internet, and at this point, Todd was really ahead of the curve. Of course, a couple of years later, after graduation, Todd took a real leap of faith, invested $10,000 of his own money into a social media project called College Web. And this, I think, has later developed iterations and things that you might be more familiar with, such as Facebook. So Todd was thinking about these things even before Mark Zuckerberg. And now, Todd sold the company, lives a life of sin in Miami. And being a consultant years of consulting, does two things for them. He's not only a senior consultant, but also director of technology. He was kind to take on this role because what I'm doing now is usually what he does for his job, and so he's going to be on the other side of this. Todd has two important sons. His wife Lisa lives in Hampton, Connecticut, and I'm just really thrilled. I consider Todd not only a lovely contemporary, but also a friend. Thank you for coming. Todd Ragaza. And then, I mean, this is a man that needs no introduction. Okay. So I wanted to say in the spring of 1969, we were introduced to the force of nature known as Ray Tang. In the group until the spring of 1972, appeared on Never Forget, the White Album, with some illustrious groups, with some unforgettable people. Served as business manager in 1971, was president of that White Album group in 1972. After graduating, went on to Yale Med School and earned his MPH in 1975 and returned to Hong Kong, his home, where it says here on your resume that you were COO and general manager of large healthcare organizations, but truly you were the mayor of Hong Kong. Yeah. During that time, met his lovely wife Dora, who's right over here, had 3 daughters, 2 of whom came to Tufts, graduated from Tufts. Third is the godchild of Lucy, and has her name, she makes her middle name. It epitomizes the tight bond and relationship and preserving the legacy of this wonderful organization. Always coming back, time after time, from very far away and remaining engaged in this group. And he was the first to say yes to this panel. I can't thank him enough for saying yes and participating. Ray Tang, everyone. Okay, so the way it works from here, we've got about an hour of time, and what I'm going to suggest is that each panelist take about 10 minutes. I've asked them all to prepare a little bit on the questions of how the group has influenced them in the life after having been in the group, and also to think about, of course, what life would be like without it. I've asked them all to prepare short presentations on this, and then we'll move to questions afterwards if there's any time. I might ask a couple questions myself, and I doubt there will be. And so I welcome people's comments and questions for our panelists and to each other on these rather complicated but very intriguing questions. I have this sign here because I do this all the time professionally. I find that this helps. I can hold this up in a very discreet manner. It says that you have 5 minutes left.
If I don't know it's there, I will help it up on you.
Yeah, of course. That's why, hello, I reserve executive powers to held on to it tightly. So,
Rob, let me just make a quick time check. Go till 10:45.
Go to 10:45?
Yeah, and then when you're finished here, the kids will be performing one song on Cohen's stage at about a little after 10:45.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, so we've got a little time. Great. All right, so I think we'll move from let's say senior to junior, starting with Ray and then moving through Evan and Hopkins and Todd. I think that's the way to do it. So I'll hand it over to Ray.
I actually have just scribbled some notes instead of this whole consulting presentation type of thing, because this actually reflects the kind of style of the Beelzebubs. I was actually quite annoyed when the chairman there at the business meeting, it was just I feel like I was back at work. It was so precise and so well done, and everybody given the precise amount of time, focus on going to speak. It reminds me of my days when I was running the business, telling my younger partners, I said, when I say 5 minutes, I mean 3.5, because when you get to 5, it's already too late. So that's, but I actually have a few things to say. The first thing I want to say is that the Beelzebub years, 3 years it may be, my formidable years, and in fact was the first platform. Now, leaving aside the things that you did at high school, going to an elderly home on a Saturday morning and eat breakfast with them, or, you know, organizing a debating team and stuff like that. But that was the first platform for me to learn what it's like to be doing something, and what it's like to be doing something so that other people recognize what you do, and what it's like to be working with people. That was the first platform ever. And I was, when I joined the group, I was 19 years old. Okay? So, and I have defined what I'm going to say, 4 very broad categories. And that is, I learned about true friendship that we call brotherhood. Secondly, I learned about organization. Thirdly, I learned about leadership. But most of all, through the 3 years that I did, which benefited me right up to today and beyond in my remaining years, is diversity. That's a big word today, but let me explain to you that it was not as big. And we were in the Beelzebubs.
Yeah.
You know, it was a different definition altogether. Let's go to the first. The brotherhood thing is actually needs no definition. We're talking about true friendship. We're talking about immediate acceptance. We're talking about instant association. Todd sat next to me and said, "Oh, fine, I got to meet you." And said, "Oh, you're from the Philippines." And we were talking about the Philippines and da 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 da. And it has taken a lot of the fences away. And you know, we're all in business. It takes so long to actually become closer to either a client, or in my case, as a candidate, even though you can do something for it. It takes time. But for the Beelzebubs, wearing this little pin and saying, I was a Beelzebub, and here I'm a new guy. The new guy and I could be his grandfather, so, you know, and it was just instant. Now that thing is it's very, very important, because we talk about the spirit, not just the spirit, but the practice of one for all and all for one. Now, it may sound grand now, but when you reflect back, there are moments during the 4 years when we actually would say someone is family, some problem, or someone is sick, say, "Hey, what can we do?" And you remember the situation, literally, the 12 guys and 13 guys would rally around one guy and try to fix this guy's problem. That kind of brotherhood, that kind of friendship, no questions asked, has formed a little corner and said, "Oh, this is the kind of thing that I want to do." Now, how does that come about? Is later on in my life, I was in the hospital, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I was 28 years old when I was made chief operating officer, because the board thought that I should do the job. I have 21 direct reports. The youngest of the 21 direct reports was 34 years old. I was 28. The hospital has 750 beds, 2,000 people on the staff, including 700 nurses, whom I try to date. And then you serve 1 million people. Okay, so you're trying to identify people you can immediately associate with, and this whole idea of brotherhood and friendship and acceptance was spinning in my head. So that's very, I mean, I can go on forever, but that's the first one, because I already have a few minutes. The second one is organization. At the presentation, we hear about what the group did, sing on, sing off, or the Glee situation. Fred Rose was sitting next to me, my president. I leaned over to Fred. I said, "Mr. Rose, look at these guys. I was your business manager. The biggest deal I did was to walk over to Somerville, to the Catholic parochial school, and ask for leniency, mercy, in light of Mother Teresa. I said, can we come and sing? All right? And for you, as president of the group, that was my biggest decision. And for you, as president of the group, 1971, your biggest decision was at Howard Johnson, Route 95, driving down to New Jersey, should we ask the manager for free lunch, for free songs? And he said, we both stood up, you know. I came back, said, we don't have a space for you. And Fred went out to the manager and said, what do you mean you didn't sing when you paid? Okay? He's trying to say no to entertainment lawyers. He said, fuck off, you know, we don't do this. This is a very different world. But then again, we learn from the basics. I kept at home when I moved, I didn't have the house to throw away. I still have about 1 inch thick of letter paper that says Ray Tang, business manager of Beelzebubs. I think I've been cremated with that power paper. I just started a little logo and everything. I was going to write you letters, you know, from that. Maybe I'll turn yellow that way. That's it. So you learn about organization. You know, it's not tedious, very hard work. You have to type everything. There's no computer, you have to handwrite everything, but you learn to organize. I mean, we're going down to Connecticut is a big deal for us. Someone said it was, my first big trip was to Long Island. You know, never did that far. We went to Connecticut, that's it. So you learn about organization. All I like to cook now is what the French and the cooking boys call mise en place, which means everything in place. You learn about that, and I'm still doing it. I'm still trying to teach my children. Okay. The third thing is leadership. How do you manage? How do you influence? How do you win? How do you get people together? But above all, how do you start doing all this? Before you even manage it, how do you show care? Now that reflects on the mothership thing. You don't care about all employees, you try to manage them, good luck. They have to. Whether it is our helpers at home, the driver, or a J&J team, or hospital team, or a consulting team that have around Asia, you gotta care. Now, that leadership thing came from, you don't have to be a business manager or a president in the Beelzebubs to lead. You just watch everybody. There's such a small group. You watch the leaders. You watch how, as quiet as things, and how the professor does things. You watch, because it's such closeness. You see things happen. You watch and you learn and say, I can do that. Oh, this is how he does it. Oh, this is how he didn't do it. So, there's a lot of directness and openness in the conversation. We have arguments with my music director, my president, Fred, and I used to close the door, we argue like hell. It's just so gung-ho. I say, you gotta relax. You used to argue like hell, but you learn about leadership. But lastly, because I got a 5-minute one, it's at 18 to 22, I learned about diversity. Let me tell you, I get into the group, I don't deal with people like Harvey Lau, John Prescott, Dick Brondike, Fred Bose, Eric Pearson, Ted Pecos, and of course, these are old school guys. They have very different value. Their idea of proper behavior is very different. We were on the verge. I started with my hair long, and then, sitting in the Blue Hall, the student said, hey, listen, Raymond, you better think twice about coming to Baloo. Because these American boys, the police will come and send them home and call their parents and say, bad boy, you're a foreigner, we send you home. So I said, in that case, I better not be against the Vietnam War. So I said, I walked out and my friend said, oh, you little shit, you're a pussy. You cannot. So, but that's how I learned. And then next thing you have Bob Bubble's Chad Baxter, Bushman, Bill Nagle, Peter Lightfoot, this guy whom a lot of people forgot, Steve McHugh. Okay? And of course, Jay Appleby. Now, these guys were revolutionary. So is diversity, right? You come into the next year. And then lastly, we got people behind us. We got John Boutros, Mike Manning, Roger Parsons, Mike Miller, Gene Blake, and all this guy came in. And then we learned from them because they tell a new perspective. Guess what? I got my pigtail. You got, all this stuff about, of course, we do a little bit of the funny smokes. Okay. I'm honest. I learned to be honest with my brothers. I said, I did, okay. And we talked about chasing girls. I'm honest too. I did have sex with that woman. All this amount of alcohol have a picture to show you that. But you look at that diversity. You know why? It's not about college fun. Because of those years, I was taught by 3 generations of young Americans in my formative years. I began to go around. People say, "Hey, how do you know so much about America?" And a lot of people from Chicago, Maine, California, Idaho said, "Jesus, you know more American." I said, "I'm not American. I spent 8 years in this country, 4 years in the university, but I spent 3 years with a group of people who taught me what being American is like. And the swing is from here to here. All right? So you know how to know where to get the good stuff, and you know how to get the jobs. And you everything. That was the diversity that has helped me not only to become who I am, but to tell me to become the person who is going to live my life, build a career, have a family, and everything else. So the diversity to me is taught by my 3 years at the Beelzebubs. And it's also taught me leadership, taught me organization, but above all, brotherhood, friendship, that lasts. Thank you.
Okay, over to you.
Alright. Borrowing from a notable president. 210 years ago, our brothers brought forth upon this campus a sensation conceived in harmony and dedicated to the proposition that all parts are created equal, except for first terms. That's the only gospel we get. Going through the weekend like this, I'm a very emotional person these days. I think I've cried about 50 times already. It's been a wonderful, maybe that's one for every year. But there's a couple things I want to talk about that touch on, sort of in the context of some words that I came up with. One is legacy, another one is responsibility, and another one is joy. And I think that what I've taken away from the Bubs has impacted or been part of that, and involved those words. One is, let's just start right up front. I was the business manager during what in the past we call it the dark years or something negative like that. I don't really look at it as negative, and I don't want to be adamant and militant about it, but I think that's an exemplary of the resilience of the Beelzebubs. We did have our time because we had people who had other commitments and left the Bubs. All of a sudden, we had a very small room. We had an imbalance in voices, and we didn't have a lot of ability to pull off good concerts. We don't. Many of the guys who left, you could name them, but they shouldn't be determined as anything less than good Beelzebubs, because we all have to make choices in life. And frankly, people who are here for their university life, that had to come first, or there are other things in their life that have to come first. So we welcome anybody who's, if you think about the people who left us behind to try and keep things going. But they're just as dedicated as we were. They have things going on. And there are some of our more notable who left that year. For instance, Peter Gallagher in his sophomore year, or the second year, his sophomore, I guess it was junior year. But he left that year, and look what he's gone on for his career. And it was a good choice for him to concentrate in the community, the theater that he was doing. The rest of us were committed to not a legacy. I mean, maybe in hindsight you say, well, we want to continue the legacy. It's nice that we're here after 50 years. But, and maybe Tim and Gene Blake were very instrumental in helping us put things back together. I have some multiple auditions halfway through the year, and Gene Blake, I just can't credit him enough for giving us a solid core of fairly easier arrangements to sing, and really finish out the year pretty strongly. And build for the next year so we could actually cut the album very well for the next time. But we just wanted to sing. We wanted to enjoy it. For me personally, it was part of the whole experience of college. Part of our experience, I I was accused of, I probably did major in experimental college for pretty much the time I was here. I did end up with a geology degree, but I took courses like junk art for kids, winter camping and survival 1 and 2. I got my physics frisbee team. The frisbee team just started then, my freshman year. And then writing as self-expression. I read 27 one-page papers in the semester. And then the best one was taught by Moderator Rob Kelley. It was called Songs and Songwriters. And it's when I was introduced to Bruce Springsteen as his first album, because we just sat around and listened to music for the class. It was tough. So I guess what I'd say is that I did a lot of other things than just the academics, and the Beelzebubs was one that was very important to me. In fact, the first day that I saw them was 3 days into the semester, when we heard people get enamored with the Bubs when they came around from different schools, different dorms, right at the beginning of the semester, or during freshman week. And I literally followed them around like a puppy from dorm to dorm to dorm as they sang. And I think by the time that they were done that night, I knew everybody's name in the group. And I was bugging them constantly on the sidewalks. When are you going to audition? I was actually disappointed that at that time you couldn't get into your sophomore year. I had to wait till the spring. So we went back to the years of 75, 76. The only rule that I really had, from my perspective, is that I recognized that we weren't the quality we really needed to do, and we needed to sort of gear ourselves. And I remember coming home from one particularly bad concert at a school. We were given in one year assembly, and I just said, we just can't. I'm going to cancel our gigs until we get our act together. Now, that gets construed around to like we're going to disband the group and we're going to, it's going to fold. And then to some extent, there is an issue. You can characterize it that, but really, I don't think that we really had the idea that we were going to disband it as much as we need to do something to make it work again. And fortunately, with the support of the Bubs, and I'm really fuzzy on all the details now, maybe bad and crazy is one suppress or something, but we did finish school together. We finished the year with 8 singers, and we had some really good concerts at the end, so that we could push it into the next year. So I think that it's the dedication and the desire to sing that really pulled us through those years, much more than we give credit to all the support from the alums and like Gene and Tim, but it was really, I like to think that it was just the fun of the group that we really wanted to get through it. When on the subject of responsibility, as a business manager, I think there's 2 lessons in life I had that helped me with my career. One was just being a business manager, realizing you just have to get on the phone and just go do things, and things happen. The second lesson was, I worked for Bank of America for a long time. I had to deal with mortgages a lot. And just buying and selling a house made me learn more about credit than anything having to do with my training in the bank. That's just sort of an aside. But it gives you an idea of where I spent 23 years as the environmental risk manager for Bank of America, and that was a responsible part of my life. So I think that the Bubs, I go from experimental college to working for a major corporation in a global responsibility role. I think that that balance has been helped, or the seed was planted for that, the ability to have that balance with the Beelzebubs businessman as well. And I'm really proud of my daughter, Amy, who sang 2 years with the California Golden Overtones from Berkeley, and was the business manager, the tour manager for them for 1 year. And that semester, where she did that, she'd call me constantly and say, Dad, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I'm responding, I don't know what our schedule is like, and how can I get everybody to the same place at the same time? And I just could see the little wheels turning, the little aha moments that she was having, just figuring out what was going on. And it was really fun for me to have this legacy of being able to transfer to the next generation. And then she, just to brag a little bit, be proud a little bit, she then sang last year with the University of Chicago Voice in Your Head and went to the ICCA finals. So we got to see her in New York. It was fun. And where she's in a PhD program in grad school. Circling back to this idea of joy, I think that we've all experienced joy. And last night was just, I think I had one of these grins from ear to ear the whole night. I could barely clap, I was just smiling so much. It was just wonderful. So I've been real fortunate in some ways. You can see me jiggling up here a little bit, a little nervous. 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it's not fun, but it provided me some opportunities. For instance, a year ago, I stopped working, going on disability, but I'm still capable of doing an awful lot of things, and I choose to have a second adolescence, so to speak. And in a lot of ways, it feels like I'm back in college. I mean, you could call a divorce a bad thing, or I guess every problem is an opportunity. So I'm taking it as an opportunity. So I'm going hiking. I'm living in wine country. I'm coming back and being much more active with the Bubs. I'm singing again, which I've done for many years. And it wasn't that I couldn't have done it in those years. I mean, you raise kids, you have a career, you do all this, and it takes time away. But it's right now I'm at a point where, because of certain things that happened in my life, I actually have been opened up more to the joy that I can experience at this point than I thought I would have. And I think if there was a lesson I was going to try and give to generations or come from it, it would be that the balance in life between the responsibility and the joy of life, and never let one dominate the other, or always come back to it. That's really nice that I've always been able to come back to the Beelzebubs. It's a constant. I was very active in environmental causes out in California. I've never lived more than a half mile from an ocean. I grew up on an ocean, the Atlantic, the river, and the Pacific. And I think that that's analogous to the Beelzebubs, is that I didn't ever have to live on the water itself. I didn't have to know, but I had to know that it was there when I wanted to go to it. And I think that that's what the Beelzebubs have done for me also. I didn't have to be here with the Beelzebubs all the last 40 years, but knowing that they were there and knowing that I could get back to it has been really neat today. So thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Moving on to Todd.
If you're on the BNet or stay active with the group at all, one of the things you hear when somebody joins the group is you have no idea. You have no idea. And all of us who are Bubs sit back there and what does I have no idea mean? And when we were preparing, or I was preparing for this, I thought, what would I tell somebody about what this is all about? And I thought to myself, that's awfully presumptuous of me, because it really is unique for everybody. Everybody can sit up on this panel and say what the Bubs have brought to them, what it has taught them about their family life, their professional life, and it's something you're just going to have to experience. You're there for 1 year, you're there for 4 years, you're a business manager, you're a president, you're a experimental college guy, I don't know, you just, every opportunity and what you take from it is unique. However, I did come up with 72 different there are a few takeaways, if you wish, that I would like to address, because these were important takeaways for me. And I think they're shared by many on the panel, and I will echo some of the stuff that's already been said. I don't think it's very easy to define brotherhood, but this is a brotherhood that is incredibly special. And I sat there this morning in the memorial, and I'm sure Michael didn't notice that I was crying through quite a bit of it, especially with the song at the end, because it is so special. The Bubs are just so special to me. What did they teach me? How to multitask. I cannot emphasize that enough. You're singing, you're taking classes, you're being with friends, you're being with your significant other, and you've got a juggle. And that stays all through your life. With kids, with your business, with everything. You've got to learn how to multitask. And this is in no particular order. What you put into something, generally you're going to get out of it. And hard work, having fun, and almost always, in my experience, good things follow. It just is it's become a truism, and that had its initiation in large measure with the Bubs. Comfort, understanding people, diversity, we talked about it, understanding group dynamics. Again, in my professional career, I formed a leasing company in 2006, a very wise move to form a finance company before a major recession. But it taught me how to deal with my partners, how to grow, and understand diverse people. And that has been the case throughout my career. I used to be a trial lawyer, and I would go in front of a jury on the rare occasion that you actually went to a jury, and you had to look at the people, 12 diverse people, try to capture what they were thinking, try to make sure there wasn't a stain on your tie, and get the message across to them. And you had to understand and have comfort in understanding people.
That sounds more like a music director.
Very true. I'm sure you can never a music director. I mentioned risk-taking, and I'm a fairly conservative wasp out of the Midwest. And I realized through the Bubs and taking chances on stage, taking chances in the variety of things, sometimes pays off, sometimes doesn't, but it's worth it. It is worth it through life to take that maybe road less traveled, to set up that business when, you know, I could have gone and stayed at a big law firm where I had been, or stayed with a general counsel in a big position, but instead I joined 4 friends, and we say, let's roll the dice, let's see what we can do, let's see if we can take a chance. And that risk-taking is emphasized if you're attuned to it in the Bubs. You see it all the time. Because I assure you, stepping in front of people is scary. Well, it is to me at least. And that kind of risk-taking, when you get that understood, the joy that follows from taking those risks is fantastic. The importance of humor. You know, it's funny, when Rob asked, we were talking, because I don't know a whole lot about you other than you're a lawyer, and that may be what a lot of people know about me. And in my profession, it's such a serious endeavor in so many ways. And I have to, we grew from 40, now we have close to 100 employees, and I have to give sexual harassment presentations. I can't tell you how fun that is, believe it or not, by bringing a little humor. You throw some humor in, it's a very serious-minded thing. And I was dealing as a trial lawyer on extremely tragic events. And you've got to be careful how you use humor. And I may err on occasions, there's no question. But it's a very valuable lesson. And that really took a lot of shape right here in the Bubs. And it takes shape throughout these alumni groups. That a little bit of humor, a little bit of not taking yourself too seriously works. And I think people can accept that. Value of friendship, another thing. And Michael Horowitz, Mark Klein, 2 of my dearest lifelong friends. Dave Pratt, who fell asleep and left. Before. If you were to name 3 people in my life who have meant so much to me, and all of us are brothers, but those 3 in particular, Dave Pratt, since he's not here, I'm really not going to talk about much, but Mark Klein is a source of inspiration, wisdom, guidance for me from the day I was a sophomore, he was a junior, and we were exploring the idea of being business manager and so forth, and his guidance then, and his guidance today as I sat around talking, without question, one of those things that I'm just so thankful for. So thank you, Mark. Michael Horowitz, you know, Michael and I became friends, and even better friends, I think, as alums. But he gave me my first chance in a business opportunity with the Bank of Boston, allowed me to be a flunky, or an intern, as we call it today. And I got to write little country reports. But the best thing about it, frankly, was spending time with Michael and having a subsidized cafeteria. I am telling you, $2 for all of skills, or lack thereof, that I have. Public speaking, we talked about. Telling stories. Paint a picture. And you'd be surprised. I watch these panels on the sing off and so forth, and watch people do introductions, and I'm amazed at the skill set of the Bubs. I'm amazed. I go to these trial conferences, and I'm very active in the section of litigation for the ABA, American Bar Association. And these are public speakers. These are litigators, people who make their profession in conveying ideas. And I would put any one of the Bubs up against them, and I would say, I'll go with the Bubs. Because they're comfortable, they're speaking with their heart, they're speaking with that humor that I mentioned before, and it's an amazing thing to see because they tell a story. They paint a picture. They gesture when it's inappropriate. Actually, see that humor sometimes works. Thank you for the back of the audience.
There you go. It's smattering, yes.
But I've talked enough. Every one of you, as I said before, could sit on this panel and convey what the Bubs mean and what they've taught them in life. It would take forever to really capture it all. But I think what I've tried to do is give you my essence of the half dozen or so things that have meant the most to me. And I thank you for your time.
Todd.
First, I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about my favorite subject, which is me. So, first thing, I feel like a member of the current group, being in front of these alums, and I honestly don't know how to react, because having been in the current group while you guys were alums and the massive amount of respect that I have, I feel small at this panel. So thanks.
No need to.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate that. When Rob approached me around this question, I was actually pretty excited. This is something I think about a lot, actually. Probably every day when I think about Bubs. And so it really is an understatement to say that I wouldn't be here today, where I am today without the Bubs. As I've said, I'm often reflecting on what my life would be like without the Bubs. I say this with some levity, but I probably would be in a ditch somewhere, maybe under a bridge. Honestly, I think the Bubs saved me in college. I think they prepared me for life. People say you come to Tufts or you come to college to prepare for life. I never say I graduated from Tufts. I always thought of like graduating from the Bubs, because the Bubs were the ones that really prepared me for everything. It was not Tufts. It was the Bubs. And if I wasn't in a ditch, I'd probably in a different line of work right now. My career, I will tell you. The lifestyle that I have, I would not have my wife. Therefore, I wouldn't have the two most important things to me, which are kids. And so the Bubs are really so much more than just a group of guys singing. I think we heard that, today. I think we know that. The Bubs, to me at least, and I think to most of us here on the panel, they're a lifestyle, okay? A network. A safety net, a brotherhood, we can call it. So the first time I heard the Bubs was during my admissions interview for Tufts back in '93, and I remember, this was at Baltimore Theater in New Haven, and I remember the alumni interviewer asking me, reading my resume and saying, or my application, saying, I see you sang in high school, you gotta go check out the Bubs when you're up there, they're a great singing group. And so I was thinking, that's great, but I probably forgot about the Bubs until that freshman year orientation, so clearly I'd gotten in, and I was in the lecture hall, and these 15 guys, they just bounded on stage with me and sat through 30 minutes of one of the proctors talking about rules and regulations and policy. And lucky enough, the Bubs, came in on the stage, and what my first thought was, who are these smelly, unkempt, and I'm sorry for children, douchebags. That's what I thought.
I was one of you.
You were the most unkempt. And 15 minutes later, I remember sitting back in the room and being like, wow, you know, I'm going to join this. They may have smelled. But I'm going to be one of those guys that smells a little criminal. So it was awesome. They blew away. So the takeaway from that, see, even before I had known this whole idea of the song, like I knew it even before they had projected it. Even, so I knew it right there. It's like they're having fun and they're saying I'm going to do that. So I was like, I had a lot of confidence. There was freshman ambition around this. I'm going to audition with these guys. I put up this awesome arrangement for like Les Mis because I was a total musical geek back then. And I sang my heart out. And I left that room. Ah, man, I totally did it. Yeah, you're getting into the Bubs. And I totally didn't get it. And I was like, the kids in there, I was like, F those guys. Those guys stink. And I was so upset my whole freshman year. And so, my freshman year, let me tell you another story about it. So I come out a few days later at Houston Hall, and there's this fella on the steps, and he's got this like glazed look on his eyes, and he's really tired, and I recognize him from the audition. So I go, this is a few days later, so I go up to him and I say to him, oh man, dude, did you get in? And he looks up at me with, he's trying to place my face, because I know he's seen me before, maybe not around the dorm. And he finally clicks in his mind who I am, where he's seen me at the audition. And I'll never forget this moment. He says to me equal parts sympathy and happiness. He looks up to me and goes, yes. And I walked away and I thought he was going to mom. I was like, bastard. So my first year at Tufts, should I say it was kind of experiential. Okay? A lot of stuff that Ray was doing. My grades suffered for it. I was the worst. I was the nightmare for every parent that sent their kids to a top-tier expensive university. I did nothing. I didn't study at all. I didn't go to any class. All I did was play Super Nintendo. I smoked a lot of cigarettes and other kinds of cigarettes. I drank. Yeah, it was a great time. I had a good time. My grades suffered for it. So spring of '94 comes around, and I get a call from a sophomore who had also auditioned in the fall and didn't get it. Incidentally, I've been singing with him. Jay lived it with me. And so I tell him, he says, come audition for the spring Bubs. The spring auditions. I'm thinking, I'm having a great time. I don't need the Bubs at all. So he just do it. So he convinces me, and this time I actually get in. And then as I was getting sung in at Blue Hall, I finally understood why that freshman who I saw that day on the steps was so excited and elated, because he got sung in that morning. So shortly after I got into the Bubs, here's the part where the learning's coming. I noticed subtle changes in myself almost right away. So the idea of having the structure, discipline, common goals shared with others, these new relationships forming so quickly, the extreme confidence, I would say bordering on super ego, all of this, it had this effect on me, and it kicked me in the butt, and it sort of woke me up. And so instead of becoming less of a student, as you would imagine, when you join a group whose sole purpose is to sing and party every weekend, right? You would think that I would just sort of spiral down, but I didn't. It actually transformed me. And it was really the thing that I needed in order to succeed. There was a gap there. And so I became grounded in two things at Tufts: my studies and the Bubs. Those are the two things I did, and that's it. And so the Bubs, ironically, became the structure I needed. So I became business manager in the 95-96 group. I became the president in the 96-97 group. These were not jobs that people forced me into, like some people were forced to officerships. We could say that's pretty safe. These were jobs that I volunteered for and I grappled for. I want to run this group. So I did that. During this time, there was a thing called the Ragaza that was starting to gain steam. So I thought, hey, why don't I just, I always had nuclear technology, so I thought, hey, why don't I just put together the Bubs.com, which was the first, I believe, acapella website for Tufts, for acapella. And I also started an email list for our alumni, which is today the primary means of communication. So as business manager and president, I learned some really important lessons that I still carry on today. Some of them you've heard on this panel. I'll reiterate them really quickly. Orientation and detail. I learned that from the Bubs. Definitely, I was not detail oriented before I basic money management skills. I was a school grad moment. I had no idea what the value of all that until I got into Bubs. Right? How to use authority wisely. Okay? The difference between leadership and management. Very different ideas. I learned that in Bubs. On and on. Not to mention the skills acquired from just performing. Right? How to project, how to communicate with an audience. Little did I know how important these skills would be in my current line of work as a management consultant. Getting up on stage in front of executives who are very high powered, very intimidating. Those skills I would not have without the Bubs. I met my wife through Bubs. Interesting story. So one of the first gigs I booked as business manager in the fall of '95 was a birthday serenade for an incoming freshman. Turns out that the parents of our target enlisted her roommate to schedule the gig. So she held the door open for me as we ran in that's how I met my wife. I had to chase her to France to actually get her to marry me. But that's how I met her. First job out of college was through the Bubs. So all that Bubs.com stuff that I was doing, it turned out that those skills were in high demand when I started graduating, when I graduated. So a couple of conversations with Mitch Rosenbaum in '95 got me a job as third floor walk-up in Newberry Street. Tim Vail threw us a loan to help with his website, and so I honed my technical skills there, working with Rosie. So that job led to experimenting with this whole World Wide Web thing, and so I built that company that I was telling you, I sold it. What really isn't important to the story as much as what happened afterwards, which was I was young and maybe I wanted to sort of show off, but I really wanted to show my gratitude, so I put an email above and said, hey guys, you guys really helped me out. I was behind and you really supported me. A lot of you have supported me so far, and this is what it's led to. I sold this company. And then a week later, Bob Marcus, BA's 10 years senior, called me up and said, hey, why don't you come out to Chicago, help me out with this new startup. So it was an outrageous offer to do that. So we did that for about a year. We lived off the energy of an internet startup and this converted warehouse in Chicago. And it was a great time. And, after that didn't pan out so well, but I stayed on with Marcus. And so for the past 12 years or so, building this life of travel and fun and family. I owe that all to Bubs. So as I mentioned today, I often reflect internally on how the Bubs have shaped me. And really every day, in fact. And I credit many positive things as directly being related to the Bubs. And as we kind of saving my college career, I don't share this very often. I'll share with this group. My freshman year was a 2.1 GPA.
I guess we.
Probably do.
1.58, baby.
I get into the Bubs in my sophomore, junior, and senior year while Dean's List. Because of the Bubs. I met my wife, keeping me employed, giving me the skills necessary to succeed in work and life, providing a network to become successful, not to mention the lifelong friendships I've created, and the satisfying philanthropic efforts derived from my time at the Bubs Foundation. I have to mention that. So as I was studying on that cool spring morning in front of Blue Hall back in '94, we met a kid from Houston Hall who had gotten in the semester. He looked at me knowingly, as we were singing. And arms locked shoulder to shoulder, the group finished Brothers in Song, and we really loud refrain. You can hear it echoing across the quad. And as the last note rang throughout the quad, this Houston Hall guy, I'm not going to mention his name, you can ask me later. He slaps me and he goes, dude, you have no idea what you got yourself into. Really, to be honest, truer words have never been spoken these days.
All terrific. So I think what has been said about being able to relate to the experience and get up here and talk about it. I mean, yes, anybody could do it, but these four individuals, I thought, could tell the story the best way and capture so many different themes. So I'm just so grateful, so honored that you all said yes and that you could do exactly what I thought you would do, is do it right. We have about 25 minutes to discuss this in greater detail. I want to kick off with just a couple of thoughts, and then just open it up, just really questions really for the panelists, some more general, some more specific. First thing I want to ask, and I'll just pose this to the whole panel, is failure. What, I tend to think of the experience of being in a group as a kind of a proving ground to test your limits and discover where they are. And you've never run an organization like this before, most likely, with all that responsibility and all the anticipation of the alums also present. And sometimes we fail, right? What happened? What do you think of an experience in the group where things just didn't work and you got something out of that and you thought, that's how I learned to be organizationally tight. That's how I learned to be a better communicator, because I failed and I learned from it.
I'll start off, because certainly a lot of failure. I think, first of all, failure is well acknowledged. If you've been around the block a little bit, is part of life. I have found that my greatest lessons have been learned through mistakes and failure. We were at a concert in Wesleyan, at Wesleyan College, and I cannot recall a worse performance ever. I think we started this, we were just terrible. Great after party, honestly.
Your balloons came.
There's a clown.
All right, so moving on from the clown. So there's any other failures?
I don't know, I'm sorry. Thanks. I don't know if this might be a failure, but maybe dig it out. Do you remember, we were $7,000 in debt coming out of the building here? Remember that? And I was dumb enough to go home. So, that was really good. We ran.
You want to make your money on digs in that?
No, maybe $200.
And the album came out at the perfect time at the beginning of the summer.
And do you remember? Yeah. So do you remember what we did? This was a big lesson for me. Was holy crap, we're $7,000 in debt. We want to still produce an album that year, right? So I remember setting the agenda in the beginning, talking to the office before, and being like, listen, first we got to raise the debt, and second, we're just going to have to work our butts off. So let's set the expectation right now with the group that we're going to work our butts off. And we did a gig every weekend, almost 2 or 3 gigs, Saturday and Sunday, selling as many CDs as we could. Well, first we had to talk with, I'll mention it, we had to talk with Scott Ray about how this happened that day, and then we paid it back. So the big learning for me wasn't so much about, working our butt off, it was communicating to the group the problem that we had. And if they wanted to have tour and help, that they really needed to do it. And that was tough to ask for those guys, because a lot of them really focused on their studies. That was a big learning for me. I'm going to do that.
Yeah. I think many of us had our first real awakening to, when you don't have money, you can't do that. When you have it, yes, you can. Yeah, and then it's all on our shoulders, right? So we become our own breadwinners, and and of course we've heard about this from Evan there as well.
Yeah, and we can just comment on that. Those of you who went to the service this morning, it was Barry Weber mentioned that we borrowed money from John Mayer's office for the Baloo album. We actually wanted to really take the time for it because Barry and I went to his office and we got $3,000 from him. And 8 weeks later, I think it was, we delivered a check for $3,000 back to him personally. Because we cut the album, we sold it, and got all the money back in. bought 4 crystal tumblers for the 4 graduating seniors, bought a bottle of Johnny Walker Black and drank them all.
Okay, Ray has never failed, so.
I was about to say, you know, that doesn't really apply to me, but I'll be honest, because in those days, one really doesn't define failure as failure. Because as long as you together, you sing a few tunes, you know, you go to Jay's, have a hamburger or pizza, and then you have a few drinks, and you've forgotten this, you never fail. You know, you may screw up in one song, and you know, you put a pitch in it's the wrong key, and you come back, and you back on the stage, you say, what the fuck was that, you know? And then you go for a beer, right? But the only thing, one time that I thought was very, you know, my first year as business manager, as a junior. In those days, you're a business manager, you're supposed to make things happen. Go make things happen. And then I knocked on the doors and gingerly arrived, you know, the sort of Medford, Somerville neighborhood, you know. And somebody got this, how about Concord? It was a bit far, right? And nothing was happening. So, and I remember this very clearly. We sat down and I said, listen, you know, we are now talking about, we have a 2.5-month period. Do you want to go on a tour or not? They said, what do you mean? They said, your job is to organize it. I said, no, my job is to try to organize it, but it's our job collectively. It's a group to make it happen. So what do you mean it's going to happen? I said, you know what? I cannot. There's nothing very much going on here because they've all heard us before. You know, you heard that story about Alexis. We sang Alexis in a Catholic school. And halfway through the song, the nun came out and stopped us. But in those days, you know about the details and strapping cowboy and the cow and all that stuff. And then down the road, they all shut off. There were Catholic schools around here. Perhaps that's the reason why. And then someone said, well, go try somewhere else. And then we decided that we want everybody in the group to go back to their school and get us a concert at their high school. Guess what? We went on a trip all the way down to Montclair, New Jersey. Because everybody made their point of going to the school and get a concert. Now that was, well, to me, it was not a failure. It was a situation where you are in dire straits, you need help, people rally. So yes, it failed. I failed as a business manager to get a concert, a tour going in the neighborhood, but we collectively did not fail. Because it's really amazing. It was one of the first trips that we actually went down in the 3 cars. I didn't follow up on my Volvo as I did on Tim's Volvo, but with the 3 cars going down, and it was 1 full week. And then the result that came from the failure of the business manager not being able to organize the brothers come together, we got a 1 full week thing. So that when you think about that was a major impact on me, because you're a part of business manager, you're 3 months ago going, and I drew a lot. Yeah, that was quite fun.
I have to ask this because you mentioned about diversity, this social cleavage, if you will, don't know what's there, about having a generation of people who were rather conservative in the group, and then some people who were thinking differently about behavior and just the whole normative shift that was going on in the country at the time that you were in the group. It gets me to think about how the group is kind of a reflection of society, and what's going on in society. And you can see, not just in the genres of music that the group chooses to perform over time, but also in the composition of the group. And the question, I think, for you and Todd is about the minority involvement in the Beelzebubs. If I recall correctly, Ray, you were probably the first minority to be in the Beelzebubs.
I was. That was in the Morris in addition to the first Chinese or Asian, that was me, they took the first Afro-American, and it was in the life. The school were actively recruiting minorities for medicine, for law school, and stuff like that. And then I made a little joke, it was a joke, of course, but it said that obviously, you know, well, you were not at the thing. I said, well, you know, it begs the question of whether the white guys can only sing Americans in the second tenor, right? So, but it was an interesting dynamics because the student, you know, you feel that the first time we walk on stage, you can see people directly into this big afro thing and this short Chinese. I mean, Czech Webster couldn't stop laughing. You know, when we were doing practicing going out of my hair, you know, because they used to make a big laugh, you know, and we say when Ray spots, I can think of a way. And Czech Webster said, Jesus Christ, a Chinese accent. You know, and then yesterday it was going, I can't think of a way. Everybody bursts out laughing. Because there is a certain, it's not a stigma, it's a friendly thing, it's a why things are a little different now. Okay? That's why we push, you know, we give Lightfoot a lot of solos. Well, not one can sing them. Number two, it's such a big, now I have pictures that I've taken from behind the group of what all I see is the audience and a big afro. It was Peter Lightfoot's afro and uniform. So I have a picture of it. I find it fascinating because everybody.
Yeah, look at that.
So the impact itself, but that's diversity because the important thing is that you witness. It's just like everything else. You know, I came into the school when the whole American thing, the flower child, and everything else, into the Vietnam moratorium, I used to wear a tie and jacket to class when I was a freshman. When you have to go to the girls' stop, you have to ask the dumb mother when you have to sign in. The second year, it was mixed, you know, like mixed dorm and mixed toilet and stuff like that. You know, things change a lot. But you can see, you said it just right. You have John Prescott, yes. You have Gene Blakely, you have Mike Miller, and you have Bonnie Fernandez, Andy Clayton Fernandez, and you see how it changed. The group is changing. The group is a microcosm of how the world was also changing.
Yes.
Now, and if you think about it, you know, you have 3 years in this time, so envious, you know, a class of 16 arranging a piece of music. It's 3 more years ago. Right? If you follow this microcosm, you see how the world changing its people, the makeup of its people, you know how much we learn. You see, we kid around, I'm sure these kids how to eat Chinese food. But it's not that. It's the intercultural thing. You know, I mean, you have, you know, Korean Americans, you have Filipino Americans, you have blah, 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 blah. It's all here. 14 guys times 3. You know, you're talking about 30 or 40 people, each one of them from Chicago or Idaho or Texas, Hong Kong or Batangas or whatever. That is really what it is. So I think it was time to have minorities into the group. But that's not a symbolic thing. That they represent the rest of the world is doing that. And we just took it and we give them this proper little platform. And people build. I mean, I talked to you for the first time. I watched Dora make a statement instead of going out of us. We saw you guys when you're the new guys. We come and we come to 5th reunion, every reunion comes and said, oh, this new group is really good. And then I saw Kim. And I took a look and said, I told these guys, I said, you know, I went to a rehearsal, basically New York came up, I said, this guy Kim, watch out for this guy. You know, he's really good.
Mike Kim.
Mike Kim, yeah. And yesterday when it came out, his class of 93. He graduated 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And we saw him on stage as a new guy 24 years ago. Jesus. And I'm only 45. Everything's wrong.
thing as far as our experience or my experience in the Bubs. You know, race wasn't even an issue, I don't think. You know, and we used it to make fun of each other. Jeremy and I, you know, he's Jewish. I don't know, you know, or he would call me whatever. And so we would go back and forth. But it was used as a, I think it's strengthening us, the differences in race. Strengthening us.
I told everybody, he said, only my good friends can call me Chink.
There you go, right.
And anyone else, and you literally deck them.
You touch the throat, yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, that's a really good example. So, but I will tell one story where race, you know, so in the Bubs, you know, it's different, but outside the Bubs, it's known. And, you know, we live a very charming life, the Tufts, right? In the liberal communities. But we did the Bible Belt tour.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember.
I live there now, it's different.
But here's the powerful thing about music and how it transcends race, and performance and how it transcends race. Because I'll remember this like it was yesterday. I remember getting off the bus, or getting off the van, and we were, I don't know where we were, I think Alabama, maybe? We were doing a tour of the whole Bible Belt, South Mason, Dixon, we were in Alabama. We'd come up to a school, an elementary school, but not maybe junior high. We get off, and it was me, Mike Kim, Steve Hahn was there, I believe, right? And I remember kids in windows going, you know, yes, look at these Chinese dudes. First, none of us were Chinese. That didn't really matter. We looked different, is what was matter. So, and I remember, I won't mention who it was one of the three of us, but I remember one of us was really torn up about it. I mean, it really killed him, and so much so he's like, I'm not performing. Let's get the F out of here. These people just singing me, let's get out of here. He took it really hard. You know, I kind of brushed it off because that's happened. You know, it just happens. It's not a big deal unless you make it a big deal. You know, but I think we convinced them to do it, and I'm glad we did because we got on stage. We may have sucked, but we still moved towards. You know, these kids loved us, and you want to know what? Those same kids afterwards came up to us and asked us to sign the CDs that they had just bought. Those same exact kids, and that was the powerful lesson.
Yeah, you're right. That's what we did.
Yeah, that was very good. You know, and we may have performed poorly, if I remember correctly, but it was the best performance we had.
Sure.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, whether it be musical or in business or whatever it may be, I mean, the thing that everyone's spoken about throughout the weekend is the impact that those who came before had on their lives in the Bubs. And I'm curious if you can talk about how Beelzebub's mentors, I know Todd, yours are obvious, so maybe this isn't directed to you, but for the other guys, whether when you were in the group or after the group, how mentors supported you, meant something to you, and how you invested in current Bubs in ways that you think helped build them into the people they are today.
Well, not that you can take this mental definition in depth, but I mean sort of like the dictionary, you know, in generally speaking, the East. You know, it's not just Hong Kong. We say, well, when in doubt, send Ray an email. So that ranges from, can we come and do a 3-day concert to the group, or by the way, can we, what about job opportunities? By the way, if I go to Shanghai, what restaurants should I go to? I get this kind of email. All right? It's not mentorship, but just being a source that one can use. If you want to give any younger girls that want to take it further, I said, I'll give a bunch of cards this time. I said, listen, anybody who wants to come to Hong Kong, give me a call. I know where they have good Chinese food. But that was in jest. I know more than Chinese food. It's just because the East, China, and Asia generally is a great location to be. So if you think yourself, you should ask John. John will tell you about what's happening in Turkey. Sorry.
business standpoint or post graduation, or that I've actually been a mentor for somebody else. But I think that I've done a couple posting of like some gigs out on the West Coast when I think one time the group came out tour. And I think that there's a general sense that the alumni are really willing to have to respond. If there's a need or if there's a question, whether it's for the current group touring or a phone conversation about careers or something. I think that it's nice to have that general sense that people are out there. And I'm more than happy to participate in that. I haven't gone out of my way to say it's an real activist, but it's I know, for instance, Tom Williams, who's also near my ear, he hosted folks in his house in North Carolina. And he actually hosted my daughter's group from Berkeley in North Carolina. So there's an expansion, there's sort of an overall feeling here that I think is of possibilities. It's not, the doors are never closed, but you may have to actually ask to have them open. But we welcome warmly. Doesn't add to what that underlies all the activities.
One of the things that I'm most proud of is to be Beelzebubs. I know you in service, but I was back before 50 or something like that. And I got Barry Whitman, who approached me. I had been a director of economics educator, and Barry was trying to think what to do academically. He was thinking about Germany. He said, why did you do it? I said, well, I'll sure know what I knew I wanted to do something international. You too. Get a language. Whichever one doesn't get a language. And then he ended up going in finance, successfully in Switzerland, and now, he's doing it on a global basis, as he said. But one of the big kicks I got, in addition to his success, was when my son graduated from Tufts in 01, he was kind of looking around what should be doing. I said, this is the guy you better go talk to. There you go. And the circle closed. And that was gratifying. And you only get that kind of opportunity because, you're in an organization with a singleness of purpose. Yes, it's a microcosm, but I think it's a singleness of purpose that holds it together. It enables you to take the difference and you take the opportunities to laugh and go and just have fun.
We have to bring this to a close, and I just want to thank our panelists and our moderator. It's been such a rich and wonderful discussion. And Leon and I were just saying to each other, you could have all the guys that have been